Or are they, as some Cree believe, the visitors? This is the land the Cree call Iu-Ishchi. These are the first-hand accounts of the witnesses.
When we left Timmins, it was kind of late. I was tired. I was gonna go to sleep. I was just about to close my eyes.
Tired and
Mom, he said, look at that thing.
My name is Ernest Webb. I'm on the road again looking for UFO stories. I've been hearing more and more about unexplained phenomena from back home. We're going to Chisasibi. I'm going to visit a woman called Mabel Sam, who saw something on this very highway. It's so remote that you need to register at a checkpoint.
Salut.
When you're passing through Iu-Ishchi, sometimes it feels like you're the only human for hundreds of kilometers. We're on the James Bay Highway and there's no cell phone service where we are. And the only contact you can have in the next little while is these emergency phones every 50 kilometers or so. We're getting closer to where Mabel saw her UFO. Mabel's sighting happened 10 years ago, but she's been reluctant to talk about it publicly until now. 381 is the only gas station along this whole highway. It was near here that Mabel saw something. I need to get some gas. But I also want to ask if anyone around here has ever seen anything unusual.
Salut. Plein, s'il vous plaît. Fait beau, hein?
For many people, the gas attendant is the first living soul they've seen after hours on the isolated highway.
Distances are very long, eh? 301 kilometers the other way and 303 the other way. There's nothing in between. This is it.
He hasn't seen anything himself.
Personally, myself, I never saw anything. And I heard a big bang once, and that's it.
But his customers have.
They come in and they're just by the look on their faces, they're really frightened. They're just white as a ghost. You know what we saw? Flying saucers, some kind of flying saucers.
What they gonna mean that bitch? You gonna mean my cousin, Stanley Kitty? Mugad di visto Jenny outside the do like this. What you mean, Joa? One was it stone and you have. Chia scared. I believe in UFOs.
I believe them because this expression on their face, they're white as a ghost, and their eyes are all popped out, you know, and you can tell they've seen something. You can tell. It seemed like they were terrified.
Chesapeake is my hometown. Everybody kind of knows each other, which is why I feel privileged Mabel has agreed to talk to me. She's a bit shy and reluctant to talk publicly about what she saw.
Hello.
Hello.
Wat je?
Wat ja?
Het hangt je het zien. Iets daar.
Cree Help Board.
I work for the Cree Help Board as a cleaner
5 children das
because I have 5 children,
children is no shimshir.
4 sons and 1 daughter. I'm making canvas for the teepee. If somebody wants to do a walking out ceremony, that's when people want these.
The walking out ceremony symbolizes a child's first steps towards adulthood and the unbroken link with the ways of our ancestors. After all these years, Mabel's finally ready to share her story.
So sie bist got to be at Timmins Spin.
I left Sesame. We were going to Timmins. My children were trying out for hockey. We were there for a few days. And when we left Timmins to come home, it was a nice night.
Jimmy Lipsky, which been be it.
When we got close to kilometer 381, it is when we saw that thing.
Kauft machines on. Menashin ishtem nagos.
Maybe around 5 in the morning. I was just about to close my eyes. My son Matthew was the first one to see it. He was driving the car. He was the first one to see it. Then he said, "Mom, look at that thing." He said, "Where's the camera?" So I took the camera, I pressed record right away. I just filmed it, what we saw. We were sitting there for a bit, and there was no sound at all. We didn't hear anything.
Alone with her children on the highway, Mabel got back in her car and hurried to the service center.
I didn't film the whole thing. When we got to 381, it still hadn't completely fallen. It was still coming down when we stopped the camera. We gassed up, and as we left 381, when we got to the hill, I looked behind where we came from. I saw 3 smokes. I didn't film that.
Did Mabel see a massive crash? And if so, why is there no official record?
I believe I'm the first Aboriginal to win a world title.
I just wish I was smarter, but you know, old too soon, smart too late.
The old Afghan Cameleers, they made many of these roads.
Very hard to say what that would have been.
Why do they call you Miss Rhythm?
Well, I really don't know. I've never really thought about it. We have information King has been shot.
I found some Calca made me excuse to vote guilty just to get out of there.
Remember who you are. Don't ever turn away from who you are.
Nice! Beautiful! Wow!
Join soprano Deborah Cheatham and a star-filled cast for this operatic triumph. Short Black Opera presents Pecan Summer, performed in English and Yorta Yorta at the Sydney Opera House September 12. For tickets, go to sydneyoperahouse.com.
Thanks to everyone for playing their part in the census. If you haven't completed yours yet, there's still time to pause and help shape Australia's future. Remember, your data is safe. Please complete your census online or in paper form now.
Authorised by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Canberra.
Driving home on the isolated James Bay Highway, Mabel and her children saw an unidentified flying object plummeting in the sky, and then 3 clouds of smoke rising from the tree line. They hurried back to Tsesibe, where the story got stranger.
We came home
around 8.
maybe around 8 in the morning. I went to bed. I was tired, and when I woke up, my video wasn't there. Somebody had taken it. It was at the police station, but nobody asked me. It was already at the police station. I don't know. They didn't come to see me. They didn't ask me anything.
Mabel demanded her tape back, but the police didn't have any explanations for what she'd seen.
I would keep rewinding it, but I was told I shouldn't do that because I would ruin it, so I didn't touch it.
At a loss as to what she'd seen, she got some help from a friend and co-worker at the Cree Health Board. Michel Tournay has been working in Tsesibe for 30 years, and as an amateur stellar photographer, he is an expert observer of the skies up here.
Everybody was talking about that, and eventually they told me the name, and I said, yes, it's the cleaning lady of the hospital. Yeah, I know her very much. So I asked her, and I told her, come at my place, I'll be glad to make copies, play the copies, not the original one. Put that in a safe in the bank and don't touch that one, you know?
Michelle helped Mabel make digital copies of her tape so that she could try and find out what she saw, and to make sure that it never disappeared if it fell into the wrong hands.
Safe.
I put it in a safe here in town. One of the companies here let me use their safe.
I told them I show that to the planetarium in Montreal and see what they think about that, you know. They told me that they had sent one at the Canadian Space Agency. They did not know what it was, and they sent it to a meteorite specialist in Rimouski. Basically, he said that the meteorites, when they fall down, they don't change their orbits. They don't change their direction. It's a straight line. It's going to be very fast. It's going to make a big kaboom. It's going to be fire or stuff like that if it's really a meteorite that fell. When I saw the film, I saw that this spiral smoke coming down, and then it's as if they regained power of the aircraft, and then they went straight horizontally, and after that they went down again. So that's not a meteorite. It doesn't change like that.
So what did Mabel see that morning, hundreds of kilometers from the nearest airport? When I spoke to an official at the airport, they told me there were no commercial flights in the area at that time. And aviation authorities told Mabel if there had been a crash, they would contact her.
I was told if a plane is missing, they will want that video. But nobody called me to ask for that tape.
So if there were no commercial flights at the time, and no crash was reported, could what Mabel had seen be picked up by radar? I got myself a meeting with an air traffic controller at NAV Canada to find out what radar can or cannot see.
This is the ops room, okay? The operations room, if you want. This is where all the action is.
You go 545.07.
That's this way.
5126 on left. You check your altitude again. The altimeter is 3007.
Most of the radar sources that are in the southern portion of Quebec have primary radar. As we get further north, the radar sources are just secondary radar. So they're just looking for transponders.
Primary radar works kind of like the sonar of a bat by sending out radio waves and then detecting their reflection as they bounce off objects. Secondary radar works differently. A transponder inside the aircraft sends out a signal identifying the plane to the air traffic controllers, as well as giving it speed, altitude, and position.
922.
It's supposed to be down here.
That code 5244 tells us it's Cree 922. He's a Dash 8 300 series, a Dash 8C. That's his destination, and there's his route. The year that video was taken, we had very limited radar coverage. As a matter of fact, we had no sources nearby. We wouldn't have been able to see anything with primary radar in that area. Just don't have that kind of range of primary radar.
I asked Gary to take a look at Mabel's video.
This is like 4:35 a.m.
Geez, that looks odd. Looks like the guy's perhaps even in distress. If I was watching it from my car, I would have been wondering what I was looking at. Here, there, you can see there's two distinct contrails that are starting to form there, which would suggest a two-engine aircraft. My guess, it would have been like a military aircraft just having fun with his aircraft, you know. At that time, we had F-18s, two engines, and now you're starting to get a bit of what looks like a bit of a flame at the back. It looks like a pretty steep dive, and not every aircraft can do that. Very hard to say what that would have been.
Did Mabel see a military plane crash off the radar?
Everyday voices.
This is who I am.
Every single one with a story to tell.
Everyone coming together.
Having a say.
I'm a girl trapped in a guy's body.
I do have a say in it.
Having a blast.
I take a strong pride in what I'm doing now. And
sharing a past, present and future.
Wood carving, it's my dreaming.
Making every minute count.
You're my family today. Sky's the limit.
Our stories. Weeknights at 7 on NITV.
Let's talk footy straight away, Gilly.
Stand up and kick heaps of goals.
I'm looking forward to that,
everyone's pumped. I'm pumped.
Look, I can't wait for it.
The Marn Group Footy Show, 7:30 Thursdays on NITV.
Mabel and her kids saw something strange in the sky. Then a bit later, 3 plumes of smoke behind the tree line. It might have been a military exercise gone awry, but no crash was ever reported. My next stop is to visit the National Archives in Ottawa. Palmiro Campagna is an author and expert on declassified government records of UFO reports.
I've had an interest in UFOs for some time, dating back to the 60s. The archives holds the files of the Department of National Defense, the RCMP, other government agencies and such, and one never knows what those files might reveal. I'd like to find out if there's information there that has not been previously released to the general public.
I tell him about Mabel's video.
It's an interesting contrail. Now, what is this on the right? But it's when we get a bit closer that it looks interesting. Actually looks like it's something burning.
That actually looks like there's something on fire. There's something not right. Could it be something re-entering the atmosphere, burning up? We'd have to try and determine if there was any testing going on of some description. There's been a lot of testing of different military things in the north. for a number of reasons. First of all, you're far away from major cities, so the chance of being seen or discovered is significantly diminished. The chance of killing a civilian, you smash into a house, you crash into something, is diminished. So you've got those reasons. But then on top of that, the terrain itself is similar to the terrain where they want to fly these things, i.e. what used to be the Soviet Union, Russia now, China. So they test these vehicles, especially in the case of the cruise missile, to follow this terrain and get the bugs, if you will, worked out of the software and such. So a lot of good reasons why they would want to be up there. And if they are up there, who would know about it?
It could have been a top-secret military test that had a catastrophic conclusion. But Mabel's not convinced. The legends and stories she grew up with have left her open to other explanations.
All I think about is, I wish I knew what it was that we saw.
I want to consider the Cree perspective on Mabel's sighting. I go to see my friend Matthew Mukash to get some ideas about the Cree view of the universe.
Our knowledge is limited to our search for things. People have gone to the moon and sent some spacecrafts into space to understand something, but that's only just a billionth of a fraction of maybe not even of what we're looking for. The human race or any other species is never ever gonna understand what's out there. What is that being that we call God? What is that? What is this universal energy? Universal energy is the one that holds all this together. Like the way that I get knowledge is through the understanding that when you have the intent to do something, the power of intent is one that comes into play. And after that, everything else comes in place. Not all at once, but in time, it will come. When I wanted to understand spirituality, that happened to me. It took me years to understand this. It was when I least expected it that I got the answer, either from an elder or something that I overheard or something in my dreams. The information came to me then because I was ready for it.
Could what Mabel saw have been from out of this world?
I think these things come from other places. People talk about seeing something all the time.
As long as the stories keep coming, I'll be out here looking for answers.
Australia's only current affairs program that gives you a true perspective returns. From the heart of our communities to the corridors of power.
Jobs and growth, that's what it's all about.
Where is the failure?
Absolutely support the action taken by the teachers.
The Aboriginal vote is, of course, very important.
Make The Point part of your story. The Point with Stan Grant. Weekdays on NITV. A landmark 7-part series
The justification for taking the land was that Aboriginal people were animals.
chronicling the birth of a new Australia from the perspective of its first people.
The only way that most Australians can pretend that the Australian nation was developed honourably is to lie.
What really happened when the oldest living culture faced the world's greatest empire? First Australians, Sunday, 8:30 on NITV.
Hey!
When you walk in the bush, you see all these plants in full bloom, and makes you think, you know, that like your parents or your grandparents taught you well in passing on their traditional knowledge about the bush itself, you know, because it holds a lot of things for us. This flower is called taranguluk in language, in Yolngu language, and Balandas call it karajong. Nice flower, nice red flower. But when Yolngu look at it, it tells us a story. It tells us it's the big mother sharks are getting, you know, pregnant, and when the actual flower turns into pods, which is like the one above us, that's when they give birth to the young or the juvenile sharks. So that's when Yolngu go out and hunt for the little sharks, which is a delicacy for the Yolngu people of Arnhem Land. When I used to be young, you know, my parents used to take me out and show me this tree, show us this plant, this flower. It's an indication of whatever is out there. You know? But I've learned well, I guess, you know, from my parents, and I'm trying to teach my kids what is out there in the bush for them. So this is a turkey bush. It tells us it's in the mallet are fat this time of the year. They go in schools, and you know, that's when we catch them. And the mud crabs are, the shells get soft. They shed the old ones and have new ones on. The soft shell, they're easy to catch. But also the plant itself is a kind of a repellent. When you put it on a fire, it drives away the mosquitoes. One plant and so many uses for it. Yeah? Maintaining the knowledge, the Yolngu knowledge, is very important for kids to learn. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what kids, Balanda, Yolngu, that's learning knowledge, you know, sharing knowledge. They're survival stories. When you look at plants like this one flowering, you know straight away what's out there to be, you know, to be gathered. Like it's the food gathering season. You don't have like calendar months. When you look at it, like every month, different trees flower or shrubs. This tree is called the durji, and the flowers tell us a story about the turtles coming up, lay eggs. We get eggs only maybe from one nest. We don't take many, only for enough to feed family. No shortage of that, the traditional knowledge itself. But you know, it's up to the young ones to actually learn all this stuff, you know, like this knowledge from us.
I had this curiosity constantly about who we were. I was all self-taught. I learnt by ear, learnt by listening, learnt by looking. Land people stories, you know, land shapes the people, and I think that's what we